Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is March the 17th, 2017, and I am pumped for this show. 9 weeks ago, we didn't even have a show. This was just an idea in my head, and now we have quite a panel. Let me introduce them all. Ansel Lindner, how you doing, man?
What's up, Adam? Thanks for having me.
Ben of the BTC Sessions.
Hey, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Now, those two guys have been on this show before. Now we have a guy who hasn't been on the show before, but you know him as Vortex. How you doing, Vortex?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on the show. Real quick apology not having the video here, but I will do my best to bring it.
All right. Now, all of their links are linked to below, so you can learn more about them from just going below and seeing what's up. And also, we'll be checking out the chat. Maybe we'll answer some questions from you guys. I see Richie Rich and James Bond in there. Some legends are in there. It's great. It's great to see everyone there. All right. So it has been a very exciting week in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. I've been up till 7 a.m. many nights. I'm sure all of us have been very busy. So on my first question, and it's going to be for Vortex. Roger Ver, this dude he's not someone I personally know. He's not a friend of mine. So it's going to be no holds barred when it comes to him here. Other places are scared to ask. What is up with Roger Ver? Because this dude, pretty much all the issues of this week have a little something to do with Roger Ver. Why do you think he is doing this? Does he want complete chaos so he can blackmail us into accepting RogerCoin? And when I say RogerCoin, I'm talking about his initiative. I don't call it by the name that he calls it by. I don't like them using the word Bitcoin in their little initiative, because it isn't Bitcoin, it's RogerCoin. Take it away, Vortex.
Oh, wow, I tell you, that's a great intro on the situation. Roger actually really knows what's going on, right? With Roger, it's actually been a pretty downhill spiral over the past few months. He's been getting steadily more insane, and of course, we all love Roger. You know, the preface, right? We all appreciate his early days, but at this point, it's gone pretty crazy. And I really like how you used the word RogerCoin, because that is exactly what this is. Today is the day that Bitcoin Unlimited died and became known as the altcoin called BTU. This is what it is. So and personally, I don't even like to call it BTU. I call it RogerCoin, because this is 100%. You know, I've been tweeting for the past couple of weeks about the lies and misconceptions that Roger has been tweeting about. I've been trying to counter them with my tweets over the past couple of weeks, and they've been getting, thousands and thousands and thousands of views, and that's good. So we could try to counter this craziness that's coming from Roger. And I'm really not sure where it's coming from, but at this point, it's clearly Roger is synonymous with Bitcoin Unlimited, so it's going to be called RogerCoin as far as I'm concerned. We've gone from Bitcoin Jesus to Bitcoin Judas all in the span of like a year, and it's really, really sad and really, really crazy. And I'll let the other panelists comment as well, but at this point, I think getting Roger out of the space, people like Roger, is arguably a good thing, because his toxicity has reached a limit now to where Bitcoin is literally spitting him out. Like, it is actually spitting him out in the sense that the exchanges will not even call it Bitcoin, right? They said this is a separate asset and will list it as BTU. So it's very interesting times, and I really don't think that this thing has a leg up on anything. It will never even fork, probably most likely anyway, because the amount of hash power that would require, they're not going to do it. It's whoever blinks first, and there's no way that this is going to get enough hashing power to ever fork anyway. So that's my 2 cents.
Ben.
Yeah.
What do you think of the situation here from this week? All this forking talk and Roger Ver insanity and altcoins. What's going on in your head here?
Okay, so I've got a few thoughts here. Well, first off, I want to say that early on, when the block size debate was first kind of starting to heat up a little bit a while back, back with Bitcoin XT, I was more open to it at that point. I also think that had we gone that route earlier on, there'd be a lot less animosity than there is now. Unfortunately, it's just been crazy, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And at this point, you know, when I look at this, I think, okay, well, what code has the most eyes on it? What code is getting the most peer review? And to me right now, that is Bitcoin Core and Segwit, which has undergone extensive testing. Now, that being said, I don't believe that had we done a block size increase a couple years back and just everybody kind of come together and said, okay, we're gonna do this, I don't believe it would have destroyed the network. At this point, it's so divisive that I think it would be very, very difficult to do anything like that. But I think, honestly, this is no longer a technology problem. This is a people problem. And I'm talking about both sides. It's become so divisive on both sides. And the reason that Bitcoin Unlimited has gotten to the point that it has is in part some of the response. Like, look at what happened with all of the nodes dropping off the other day because of that bug. They all dropped off, and instantly, I understand that from this side of the fence, it feels like some vindication to see something like that happen. But at the same time, I don't know, there were a lot of assholes out that were just poking and prodding. And when you think about, if you're arguing with somebody and you make a mistake, if that person then pokes and prods and mocks you, you're that much more deepened in your stance. And we saw the nodes for Unlimited rocket right back to where they were immediately. I think in a normal situation where we all looking at it together cohesively, we would have all taken a step back and gone, oh crap, maybe this piece of code needs more eyeballs on it. Maybe we should step back and go another route. But because of the discourse in the space, we're just fueling the fire by being divisive and not even listening. I understand that the other side, there are a lot of problems in what is being said, but at the same time, the making fun of is just going to further push them along.
All right, good take on this. Ansel, tell us what you think about Roger Ver. What's going on?
Well, I am in a Roger Ver boycott still. I have not talked about or tweeted at him or whatever for a while. I don't think he deserves it, and I don't think that his position deserves it. It's not a scientific position. It's a religious position. And the only way you can really fight these religious zealots for Bitcoin Unlimited is to poke and prod at them, because they're never going to change. And we know now from John Ratcliffe came out today that these guys, they're paid by some, I guess, media company or something, by Roger Ver, to go out there and post for Bitcoin Unlimited and stuff. So you're not going to change their minds. That's where their paycheck's coming from. So what you have to do is you have to win the hearts and the minds of the people that are coming in. And their arguments have been destroyed so many times that the only thing that's left is to poke and prod at them. That's my opinion. And I'm not scared of poking and prodding or getting poked and prodded at. I think there's too much kind of pacifism out there. We need to have strong rhetoric and go out there and really take it to these arguments. That's if you're getting picked on in a schoolyard, a bully's picking on you, you're not, you can talk all you want. And I was taught that too when I was a kid. Hey, talk your way out of it. That's the honorable thing to do. But you know what? Go up to the biggest kid and punch him in the nose, and then the other kids aren't going to bother you anymore. So there is room for being forceful and taking it forcefully back to these religious people that are talking about Bitcoin Limited. Roger Ver, yeah, he's just wasted a lot of credibility. And yeah, don't even Don't even talk about him because he's not worth it.
I mean, really, like at this point, we're going to look back on this, and we're going to look back on it just like we look back on Mike Hearn's rage quit, right? We're going to look at it with astronomical stupidity. This is what it was. And it's also important to take away from Ansel's point that, like, yes, they're going to poke and prod, but here's the thing. In this land, code is law, and people are going to go with the most tested code. They're going to go with the code that works the most. And Bitcoin Unlimited has had so many problems in the past few months. I just don't think that even poking and prodding is going to work very much longer.
All right. Well, let's move to the next question here, and it's for Ansel. It's kind of a follow-up. How low will the Bitcoin price go? When will this madness, and when will this madness end? Because clearly the Bitcoin price is dropping because the market is kind of spooked by this uncertainty, and they're no longer satisfied with the status quo. I think they'd be happy if a decision was made one way or another, type of thing. So when will the madness end? How low will the Bitcoin price go? Ansel.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah,
All right,
actually.
Cool. I don't know. I was big on the ETF. I thought it was going to get approved, and I was probably like the most vocal person out there about it getting approved because I thought that they understood Bitcoin and that this was a way for them to kind of control the price and seize a big supply. But that didn't happen. This last week, I had a baby born, and I've been kind of out of the loop, and nothing is making sense to me right now. The Dash price, the Ethereum price, the Bitcoin stuff that's happening, it's very uncertain time right now. But I think the price action in the last day has been a result of this, whatever the exchanges said today, where they're going to be listing it as BTU, and that kind of, I think it's good in that it says that Bitcoin Limited is not Bitcoin, but it also is like the exchange is saying, we think this is going to happen. We think there's going to be a fork. So that kind of adds uncertainty to the market. And yeah, that's all I
got. Ben, what do you have to say about that?
I think this is very similar to when Mike Hearn left. There's that initial panic of, there's, something's wrong and everybody's freaking out. Honestly, I think in a year, I think Vortex is very correct in saying that in a year, we'll look back at this and it was just a blip along the roadmap to Bitcoin growing, ever more every year. I don't know. I'm looking at a chart right now. It did the same thing right after New Year's, right? Like I'm looking at a weekly chart and I can see it. There's 2 weeks where it dropped and then it kind of leveled out and just started on its way back up. Honestly, I think this is just another blip. It may go lower, but I don't know. I'm not particularly worried. I'm just going to hold on. Like I said, and last time I was on, I'm a patient man. I'm just going to hold. I'm going to wait it out.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I mean, all these people are like, should I sell now, Adam? I'm like, no, what the heck? You got to have a strong hand, dude. So Vortex, how long will the price go down for? And when does the madness end? When does the uncertainty end? How do we reach a conclusion here?
Yeah, I really wish I could have the exact answer for you on that one, Adam. But I think that everybody can agree that this is going to end around the time that Segwit is going to be activated. At that point, the madness will die down because either Segwit will have gotten activated or something would have forked, right? Or Bitcoin Unlimited would have forked. So at this point,
whoa.
Know what's going to make us go sideways, for a while, and we're not going to see the $3,000 per Bitcoin prices that we would have otherwise by the end of this year. So what's this going to do in the long run? It's just going to set us back maybe like a year or two if we actually fork tops. I mean, this is a long-term game, and Bitcoin from the beginning has been a roller coaster. It has always been on the brink of destruction. It has always had crazy. And just like the internet itself, it always has something, that people are complaining about. First it was, oh no, we have to have images. Oh crap, now we have to have videos. Okay, now we have to have videos in HD. I mean, now we have to support mobile. There's always going to be these global networks, because they're open. There's always going to be somebody pushing it to its limit. There always going to be somebody pushing it right to the limit. And with this, what we're going to see is it's always going to be on fire to some extent. And so in the early days like this, you kind of have to have, like you said, really strong hands. This is early days, and it's definitely going to be a while. This is going to play out for a while. Bitcoin, of course, is going to play out over decades. But also another point to keep in mind is that the exchanges aren't going to list BTU until they can fix their replay attack, until they can account for the replay attack. And it looks like now that the Bitcoin Unlimited team is releasing statements like they're not going to do that. They're not going to actually fix that. So that means that they're not actually going to ever even be listed. So I just don't see how there's a win for this team. BTU is completely shot themselves in the foot. And now all the exchanges come out and actually release that, yes, they're going to list it as a separate asset, as an altcoin, because this is what it is. And so it is going to be a little bit scary because, Roger owns Bitcoin.com, and so he's going to definitely try to claim that brand, and it's going to get a little dicey for the market on what to choose, and it's going to get a little uncertain. But in the end, Bitcoin will continue and it will play out. So basically, we're going to see prices could dip as low as 500-600, but they're not going to be there long. I mean, in my opinion, it's probably going to go to around between 800 and 900 at the lowest, and then we're going to bounce back. We'll definitely still be at over 1,000 by the end of the year, no matter what happens. But there's a lot of room to grow, a lot of strength behind Bitcoin at this point, a lot of faith, and so we're just gonna wait it out.
I'll tell you one thing. If it goes down to $700, I'm ready to spend $7,000 right now.
Absolutely.
I will put that. I'll get 10 of them. I mean, my God, $500. I'll find a way to get $10,000 and buy some Bitcoin. I mean,
and this is the strength that I speak of. This is the support that I speak of. This is what people understand as the most secure payment network on the planet that has ever existed in the history of mankind. This is worth buying at $500.
Yeah, this is the thing. You say the word support, and that's a very important word to remember in this scenario that you just talked about. I don't think you and I are the only ones thinking like that. I really think if it gets down to 800, there's going to be just a lot of people like, I'm taking a chance. I'm not taking a chance. I'm buying this thing. It's super cheap. I can't, I don't know if it'll get down to 500 or 600. It was a question. You answered the question. And now, I want to clarify something for the audience too, because when we say hard fork, all of us realize now, I think, that the Rogers initiative isn't going to become the real Bitcoin. At this point, their option is just to create an altcoin. And it is great that the exchanges recognize it as simply an altcoin. And I took that press release or whatever as a positive. The market freaked out, but that's, the market freaks out about all sorts of things. When you say the word China, the market freaks out. So, I mean, Vortex, give us the exact... Well, I think you did just do this. You did. So I'll ask Ben the question. What is the scenario that you see playing out here?
Yeah.
Hard fork actually happen? What type of hard fork will it be? How will it be just like pure altcoin, or will the Bitcoin.com and the Bitcoin.com name, that's the big wild card in all this. If he didn't have that name, I wouldn't even care about this at this point. It would just be a total altcoin. But he's got that. He's got that. So Vortex,
yeah.
Ben, what do you have to say?
You know what? I see this as kind of like the inverse to what happened with Ethereum. So the lead developers, everybody behind Ethereum, wanted to do one thing, and there was a vocal group that didn't agree with that change, but the majority of everybody went along with the main, with the main group behind what is now the main Ethereum chain, and then ETC split off. I kind of see this as an inverse. I think we're going to have, again, a small group split off, but everybody is going to stick again with the core development group. The reason I see it as an inverse is because ideally, idealistically, I agree with the Ethereum Classic people, whereas this time around, idealistically, I agree with core. So I just, you know, similar, same, but different is basically what I'm saying. But yeah, I think that Unlimited will, if there is a fork, I think we'll still kind of have, it'll be kicking around, you know. I think it's, you know, because of the website, because bitcoin.com, I think there will be more confusion there, unfortunately, because of this. I don't think that will be good for either camp. But yeah, I think that Unlimited will, if it does fork, it'll stick around and it'll be traded. But I think the majority of the industry will go with core, with the core developers.
I like how you called it the inverse. That was very smart. I like that. Ansel, what do you got to say?
They're not going to fork. I don't think there's going to be a split. If the miners split, like Emperor Wu, if he splits off, you know, they've paid all these millions of dollars for all these ASICs, and they have all this big, huge mining equipment, and they're going to be trying to mine an altcoin. There's no way they're going to do that. There's not going to be a split. They're going to stay with the true Bitcoin. And also, I saw a tweet, I think it was a tweet today. I read something about Charlie Shrem, and I know he's been kind of iffy on whether we should trust what he says recently, but his tweet was talking about 80% of miners that he's talked to in China will not fork. So it's kind of a filibuster vote that's going on. Also, remember that bug that they had the other day with Bitcoin Unlimited? The miners didn't drop off. And Maxwell's pointed this out on Reddit, and other people, I've been pointing it out for a long time, that they're not really mining Bitcoin Unlimited. This all fake hash power. They're just signaling for it. So there's probably, you know, I don't know, maybe 10% of the network. Bitcoin.com is, because it's run by the one I will not name and his crazy hash power. But who knows who else is? When the nodes crashed, the mining nodes didn't crash.
No, I agree. Tone Vays, who's in the chat right now, has brought this up too, that there's probably some fakeness out there. Max, anything to add to that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that it's important for people to understand this. When the nodes went down, there was roughly 10 to 15, 20% nodes that didn't go down because they weren't running Bitcoin Unlimited. They were running core. They were just signaling for Bitcoin Unlimited. That's just really important to know that. I mean, what's going to happen is Bitcoin Unlimited is attempting to go against consensus. And if you go against consensus in Bitcoin, you always lose. And there's just nothing that, you know, they're going to be able to do. The hash power, they will not get enough hash power. They will not get enough nodes. And so they will just continue to be a thorn, right, until Segwit gets passed and enabled in and then established.
All right. Well, hey, we got about 100 live viewers right now. Guys, pound that like button. Use the hashtag support Segwit in your tweets. It's been gaining a lot of momentum. But pound that like button so people find out about this video. Thumbs up, thumbs up. All right. The next question is, I guess, a two-part question. What will the Bitcoin price be next Friday? And give some of the reasons for the Bitcoin price drop that I've given some reasons why I think the Bitcoin price drop has happened. But does it have to do with the altcoin surge? Are the two related? Will an altcoin all of a sudden come out of all this on top, or is this total BS? So, Ben, there's a lot there to talk about.
Okay, so I think the drop, honestly, I think it's just Bitcoin being Bitcoin. People that are in it that are maybe new or just unsure of themselves are, you know, they're in and out. And I think that could be part of the altcoin pump as well. you know, Bitcoin will drop and rise over time, and I'm not concerned with that. But yeah, I do think it's weak hands freaking out and reading too much into things. That being said, as far as the altcoin thing goes, I think it's a mix of things, honestly. Like, say what you want about the legitimacy of some of these other projects. You know, I think especially with new people, it's easy to say, well, look at this transaction happened immediately, which when you're dealing with delayed transactions, because, you know, Bitcoin is becoming more popular, and we're trying to scale, and you go on to a network that is not at the scale of Bitcoin yet and hasn't run into those problems yet, it is pretty amazing to go, oh wow, this dash went through in a second and it's confirmed already. Amazing. So there is a little bit of that, but I also think part of it is because within Dash they've allocated money from, I believe, from the mining process to actually spend on making people aware of Dash. A lot of people shit on that, but I think it's a kind of a genius idea. I wish Bitcoin had something like that. And people say, well, a currency shouldn't advertise itself. Well, I don't know. A lot of people said a lot of stuff that a currency can only be issued by a government, but we went ahead and did, you know, went away from that too. So why can't a currency be self-promoting? I think it's just another evolution of things that we'll see in the years to come. And I think it's a cool idea, but yeah, as far as Ethereum goes, I've seen some rumblings about there's some sort of MLM scheme going on, and I think that's pumping the price too. As with anything, you look at the chart and it's straight up. It's gonna come back down, but I think they'll probably come back down and still be a lot higher than they were, you know, a few months back. So yeah, I don't know. It's the ebbs and flows of the crypto space.
All right, Ansel, what do you have to say about this altcoin thing and where Bitcoin is going to be next Friday? What's going on with the price? Tell us your thoughts.
Okay, I don't know about the price. It's probably going to be higher. We've been in a hangover since the ETF, and with the Bitcoin Unlimited stuff heating up. But now I think over the next couple of days, the market's going to absorb this Bitcoin Unlimited news from the exchanges. That's going to sink in, and it's going to add more certainty to the market. It's probably going to go up. How high, I don't know. But I wanted to comment also on the Dash thing and other altcoins. So marketing, there's a big problem with a currency like this and a cryptocurrency, a program, open source software that's marketing, because it masks the bugs. It makes people want to jump in and invest because they heard it on some YouTube channel, and they just want to buy it without really diving into it. It also masks questionable motives from the history of the coin. People don't want to look into it because, look, oh, the price went up 10%, so I'm happy, it must be good. And also the game theory problems. I mean, Dash is just riddled with all sorts of problems, and the marketing really masks that. But that's all.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, actually.
All right, Vortex, how about you? Give us your thoughts on this mega subject here, altcoins and what's going on with the price. Are the two related?
Yeah, so I mean, it's important to know that the price, the actual liquidity does flow back and forth, ebb and flow back and forth between Bitcoin and the altcoins, which is of course to be expected. People are, you know, when the Bitcoin price goes down, the alts go up, and vice versa. There's all sorts of little trends there going on. As far as I want to comment on a couple things here. First, with Ansel, yeah, like I think that the price will probably be up pretty soon. I don't know about next week, but very soon as the market absorbs the Bitcoin Limited news, and that's definitely true. I think it's gonna absorb it much faster than people realize, just like it absorbed the previous couple of items much faster than people realized. You know, it doesn't even care about China anymore. Literally, like you mentioned China already, Adam, in this, you know, so you said something like China, somebody says China and the whole market moves. That's not even the case anymore. Like, they've completely removed withdrawals and Bitcoin kept going up. So it is correcting a little bit as far as the Bitcoin price goes, and that's fine. But this alt bubble that's happening right. A huge now, not bubble in the sense that like altcoins will ever go away, but bubble in the sense that the liquidity will dry up back to at least what it was a little bit earlier. Over time, in the next couple of years, yes, these altcoins more than likely will go up if they can provide value that's different than Bitcoin and that's completely unique to them, and that Bitcoin couldn't actually integrate into its code. So it's tough to say, but also with Dash, and the advertising, that's really an important thing to mention. I'm glad Ansel mentioned it, because I was going to push back on Benjamin a little bit with that, because when currencies are used for a specific reason, right? It's not just a company like trying to sell you something you don't need. Currencies are used for specific reasons. There are some people that need to get Bitcoin or they will die. Like there's some people that need to get Bitcoin or they will starve. So when you have a currency, it usually comes out of necessity. When you start advertising it like a company like Dash has done, you start really muddying the waters with the utility of your product. Because if people really needed it, then they would just go and use it. And when you have slash a nice logo on it with a company logo and a brand and a CEO, then you're starting to say, okay, look, Dash, I can feel good. It's got a brand behind it. It's a CEO. It's good. People won't even literally like look into the problems that it has. And so that can be a big problem. So that I wanted to push back on a little bit. And then, like I said, with these bubbles, it's just getting crazy. I'm hearing in the Twitter sphere now that there's an Ethereum MLM that could be help driving the price of Ethereum up a little bit. And then, if you follow, I highly recommend you guys follow Arc Blockchain on Twitter, Chris Berneski. He's been analyzing the price of Dash and Ethereum over the past weekend, and it's been boggling his brain as well. See from this is a pump. This is not any organic growth whatsoever. This is not organic growth. This is not actual growth. This is speculation. This is new people coming into the space, and you can really see that when the fact that what's going up is the dollar price, not the Bitcoin price. Like the Bitcoin price is going up a little bit, right? But it's not going up. It's not shooting up like the dollar price is. And when you look at that, you can totally see that this is new people coming into the space. Somebody told them about Dash going up, or Ethereum going up, and they're all like, oh, well, let's just jump in. And so it's really dangerous, this bubble. And for these reasons, we have to like give a PSA. We have to say like, look, this bubble is gonna crash. And when it crashes, like just try to be mindful of these things, because Aurora coin, so many coins have gone the way of death, and these coins have every possibility of doing that. So just encourage everybody to do the research, because this is a crazy bubble with these altcoins. They're going to come back down. They will rise again, but hopefully, not with not so much just pure speculation.
Yeah, I would say that applies to Bitcoin in certain senses too. Mostly for people that are completely new to cryptocurrency. I think a lot of people come and they'll go, oh, I heard of Bitcoin, I'm going to throw money at that, and then it drops and they don't realize that it's done this a million times before, and then they dump all their Bitcoin and they lose a lot of money. I think you're right. It is the responsibility of anybody who's been in the space for any amount of time to make sure that the new people are well aware of what's going on.
Well, this is a good segue into my next question. There was some drama at the beginning of the week. People were emailing me, have you seen the Amanda Johnson video where she says Bitcoin has been infiltrated? So I linked to that video below this video. You guys can check it out. She was on some conspiracy channel, and I don't know how long she talked to the guy for, but he posted 7 minutes, and he titled it with a clickbaity title and played scary music. And by the way, this guy predicted like World War III 4 years ago, and that we'd be in concentration camps or something. I mean, just insanity, this dude. But she did say Bitcoin has been infiltrated. She did have a weird way of phrasing things. And I know compete with Bitcoin. So this is very controversial. People were cursing. People were angry. So I wanted to bring this up because, and then after that, Dash's price went all the way up and Bitcoin experienced some problems. That was coincidental. But Ansel, what do you think about this? Was it a pro? What do you think about the situation when she's going on talking about using a word like that? You're saying that it's been infiltrated because that plays into the FUD with Bitcoin. There's so many crazy people out there that think the government controls Bitcoin or that some magical Rothschild owns all of the Bitcoin or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't see this video until you shared the link with me. Christopher Green, I used to watch him maybe once a week or so. I would catch one of his videos on YouTube. He has pretty good content geopolitically and stuff like that, but he's never touched on Bitcoin. Now, I think that he mentioned infiltration first, the word infiltration, and she just picked up on it. But everybody needs, I'm sure everybody knows that she's paid by Dash, right? And they're a rival to Bitcoin. So that's like asking, I don't know, a Steelers fan if they like the New England Patriots wide receiver or something. You're not going to get a straight answer. And so that's what I have to say about her. But Christopher Green went on to talk about Tor, or no, he went on to talk about how the people, there's like 3-letter agencies, the CIA, Vault 7 and stuff, how they have kind of invested in Bitcoin, or at least invested in some Bitcoin companies, and there's some sort of connection there. But remember, like the leading funder of Tor is the United States Navy. And the reason why they do that is because they have to use it too. And so all of these people that are funding Bitcoin that are 3-letter agencies or whatever, it's because they have to pay assets as well. You know, they want to use the censorship resistance that Bitcoin offers. So that's a moot argument that he kind of brings up to scare people away, but it doesn't really mean anything. That's all.
Yeah, I also thought all those things that he said that he had absolutely zero proof of too. I mean, it was like, yes. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. But okay, Ben, what do you think about that video? Or did you see the video?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, again, I mean, having a representative from Dash commenting on another crypto, again, you're not gonna get a balanced answer. Obviously, the goal of Dash is to replace Bitcoin and become #1. Obviously, if you're a paid representative of Dash, you're going to go on and you're going to say bad things about Bitcoin because you want to replace it. So that makes sense. You know, and when they were talking about Bitcoin being infiltrated, you know, I listened to what they had to say, but at the same time, I didn't see proof. If somebody showed me proof to my face, and it was irrefutable, then yeah, of course. Like, I'm not so stubborn that I wouldn't listen to somebody, but I don't see it. And I mean, also, I mean, I started looking at the channel, and there's some good stuff, but I went back, like, they had flat earthers on. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna take everything that I see there with a grain of salt, right? I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. You know, if you have evidence, then sure. But you know, just because you say a thing doesn't mean it's actually a thing.
Wow, I'd like to say that Vinny Lingham is in the chat right now. This dude is leading the way in sane thinking when it comes to this RogerCoin thing, and how we've got to get the Segwit on the way here. We gotta get together and just fix this uncertainty out there, so the market is happy, and the market will be happy when it knows that Segwit is on the way, and hopefully that will be soon. We'll clear up all this nonsense. Real quick, Vortex, what do you think about this Amanda thing? And then I'm going to ask you an altcoin question.
Oh man, where do I begin? Okay, so everything that the chat said that the panel said is pretty accurate. First of all, I just got to push back on one thing, Adam, that you said. The Rothschilds, they aren't magical. they do exist and own a majority of the value on this planet.
I'm going to go with Tone Vays on that one. They do not exist. They do not exist.
Okay, so here we go. So here we go. So yeah, it's absolutely kind of crazy with what Amanda's doing. Like, I mean, like the rest of the panelists said, they offered no proof. They literally offered no proof. It was just all hearsay. And if you think about this, like the panelists have said, like Ansel said, she is paid by Dash. And now with the rise of Bitcoin, you know, she's got to find a new attack vector, right? She's got to attack Bitcoin somehow.
Okay.
Nothing new, you know.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, okay, we covered Amanda. Now there's so many people that just like, you have to be fair and bring her up. All right, I brought her up. So now, follow up about altcoins here, Vortex. Would you, just so the people out there's so many newbies out there, I'm trying to tell people, hey guys, you know, when these third tier altcoins start jumping up like 100%, I've lived through the housing bubble. I remember the .com bubble. We're in an altcoin bubble. So that's what I say. So Vortex, is this an altcoin bubble? Do you own any third tier altcoins? How many altcoins do you own? And would you recommend any altcoins?
So of course you always got to be careful with this question, right? Because anything you say, you'll become a shill, right? So it becomes a very difficult. For one thing, you know, with this madness, this we are in an altcoin bubble, and it kind of reminds me a lot of 2014. And you know, this altcoin bubble is going to pop. The prices will come back down, but these altcoins will be here for a while, you know, for sure. And they're as far as recommendations on altcoins, I mean, you have to do your research, but there's some that are doing interesting things that's different than Bitcoin, and that's the point. It has to be completely interesting from Bitcoin, completely unique that Bitcoin couldn't do now or in the future. And so, you know, there's interesting projects out there. I won't, you know, name any right now because you can just go to CoinMarketCap, right, and check out the top 10 and be fascinated by all these different things. But really, at the end of the day, like, Bitcoin is the most important coin. If you're going to hold altcoins, you hold a couple for sure. Maybe hold a little bit, hold a little bit of Bitcoin in them, so that they can grow up a little bit. But I mean, by far and large, always keep or 90% vast majority of your funds of your cryptocurrency funds in Bitcoin, because that's what everything gets traded back into anyway. So,
all right, Ben, what do you have to say about this this altcoin situation?
You know, it's definitely bubble territory. I mean, it's when you look at the charts, they're, you know, especially you zoom out a little bit, they're straight up. And I think that, like Vortex was saying, some of these do offer some interesting propositions. They're doing interesting things. And I have played around with holding some alts, but Vortex is right. I would, these are untested waters, and Bitcoin is the mainstay in the game. I'm keeping the majority of my money in Bitcoin. But that being said, I don't see anything wrong with maybe hedging a little bit. Like today, Bitcoin took a drop and Dash went from 80 something in the morning to 90 something. And when I see that in my head, I go, oh, maybe I should dump my Dash and put it into Bitcoin now that it's cheaper for me to buy it with my Dash, right? And so it's not, you just got to watch. I'm a bit of a contrarian. Whenever Bitcoin goes down, I'm like, oh, I should buy some. But if the people that are getting into crypto right now because they saw Dash went from, $13 to 97 that it's at right now, those are the people that are going to lose money, because as soon as you look and it's the chart is straight up and you think this is a good time to buy, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I've had people like, should I buy in at 100? Anyway, Ansel, is this an altcoin bubble? What's going on here?
Oh, Adam, you know that it is totally an altcoin bubble. I do own, right now, I own one altcoin. I've owned the same one for 2 years, and it's XCP Counterparty. I probably will never sell that one, just because I bought it. I spent $100 on it, and I'm just going to hold it forever because I think it's kind of like a long-term play on Bitcoin. Litecoin, though, is interesting because of Segwit. And there's been some developers out there that have been talking about, I think it's kind of like a long-term play on Bitcoin. I'm hearing an echo, sorry. No, it's interesting because of Segwit. And there's been some developers out there. I think you got your mic on.
Yeah. Someone just joined us, and he's just gotta mute the sound on his side because he's doing an echo. Whoa. You might want to put headphones on there. New person that will be announced in a second. But continue. Continue, Ansel. Continue your what you were saying. Sorry about that.
Okay, Litecoin, they have some developers are talking about working on Segwit and just waiting for Bitcoin Segwit to come, and then they're gonna port their stuff over to Bitcoin. So that's pretty interesting to me. Also, I want to mention pivx.org. That is a competitor to Dash. Now they're using the masternode. It's kind of a straight up clone of Dash without the pre-mine, and they're going full proof of stake with the masternodes. So that's interesting. What I think that brings up is that you can fork all these coins. There's nothing that's going to keep these investors in these coins. No one's like really using Dash. They're using Dash through Shapeshift maybe, right? But they can be forked and people will just jump on the next thing. The only thing about Bitcoin that can't be forked is the hash rate and the network effect. So these altcoins have, they have to prove themselves first. And like the other panelists said, when you get in exponential territory, that's obviously a bubble.
All right, so now our very special surprise guest who has joined us, Vinny Lingham, is here. Anything can happen on This Week in Bitcoin, anything. And now Vinny Lingham is here to tell us about why this is, or why he thinks this is an altcoin bubble, how it will end, and how it will affect Bitcoin, and also what's going on with this hard fork situation and the Bitcoin price drop, and when the Bitcoin price drop will end. Take it away, Vinny.
Thanks, Adam. Well, yeah, I was funny. I got a notification on my phone, and I looked up, and you guys are broadcasting, so it was cool. Good to join you guys. So, okay, I'll go through the questions one by one. Let's talk about the altcoin bubble. So what's happening right now is you've had $2 billion worth of market value wiped out of Bitcoin in a day and a bit, right? That $2 billion goes somewhere, and a lot of people don't cash out of. They go back into USD. They go into other cryptos for lots of reasons, tax reasons and whatever else. Some exchanges don't have a USD pair, etc. So what do? They trade into. If you look at this right now, by the way, you'll see. I think I saw a stat that Ether and BTC are now the highest trading pairs in some markets as well, more than Ether USD. So people are piling out of Bitcoin into Ether, and they're going from Ether into other cryptos as well, or from BTC direct to other cryptos. So you're going to continue to see, as Bitcoin deflates, and it's going to keep deflating, and I'll explain that why in a second, you're going to see Dash being pumped and all the other altcoins. Now, that only lasts for a certain point in time because it's not really it's not a fiat pump, right? So people aren't putting new money into the system. It's kind of money moving around from one crypto to another. This is a very dangerous situation. I would not be shorting any altcoins right now, which is another reason, by the way, why the price keeps running. There's no shorts in the market because the shorts are typically traded in BTC alt pairs, right? So if the BTC price is dropping, the alt is rising, you actually lose. The BTC pair is out of whack. So if you could trade it in US dollars, that's a different situation because the Bitcoin price is dropping in dollars. And I hope I'm not going too fast, but I think hopefully the viewers are catching on here. So right now, there's no shorts in the alt market because the price of Bitcoin is dropping, and that deflating of the price is really pumping up the altcoin. It's making the bubble bigger and bigger. Okay. The one exception I think is Ether USD. I think there is money flowing to Ether from banks and whatever else, which is propping it up even further and making it bigger. But you remember, it's a double whammy because you got the BTC Ether pair as well as the USD Ether pair where money's coming in, and then with Bitcoin you got the Bitcoin USD pair where money's flowing out, and Bitcoin Ether when money's. So this is a very tricky situation. So for traders, you do not want to be short any alts right now at all because you will get burned unless you're shorting alts on an alt USD pairing. So I hope I don't want to take up the whole conversation on this, but that's essentially where the altcoin market is right now, and it's going to get frothy in a bubble. But it changes the moment Bitcoin goes the other way, and then everyone with alts goes, "Ooh, cheap Bitcoin! It's going the other way. Let's buy back into Bitcoin." And then the alts don't have the liquidity to sustain everyone trying to get back out of alts into Bitcoin, and that's when you have, and there's a number of scenarios where this can happen, where Bitcoin's rising price will hurt the alts. Now, whether that's in a month's time, 3 months' time, or a week's time, who knows? But we're in a dangerous situation right now.
All right, now continue. You were going to say, because you missed all the other questions, so I want you to have a little bit extra time, of course. Tell us about the Bitcoin price. When is this price drop going to stop? You were about to talk about that.
Sure. When I published my last post, I published it at 1260 a Bitcoin, saying there's a hard fork. People, like the people that are speaking in the industry, just didn't believe this was going to happen. Everyone's just like kind of, you know, it reminds me of quick sort of capture. One of my favorite movies is World War Z with Brad Pitt, right? The zombie movie. And they were asking, you know, Israel, like, how did you guys know? How did you protect Jerusalem from the zombies? And they recapped a quick story. The intelligence guy said, you know, back in Yom Kippur War, you know, 9 generals, whatever, said that we weren't going to get attacked, and then we did. And after that, we made a policy that we'd have a 10th man. So when 9 people say one thing, the 10th man's job is to prepare us for the exact opposite happening. And that's how they were able to prevent the zombie attack. So the kind of the same thing happens in Bitcoin, right? You have this like high level of arrogance. You know, the Bitcoin price is strong, the ETF's over. Nothing's going to go wrong. The fork's not going to happen. Unlimited doesn't have the skills. Blah blah blah. And then I basically said, okay, guys, this is not exactly correct. And I published it, and the price started dropping because the markets are realizing, you know, as people get more educated, this is a real threat to Bitcoin, and the risk premium is not reflected in the price. And so there's lots of, I mean, it's kind of a weird situation because the current high price is really increasing the fees. Okay, but that's also stopping Segwit because you basically have the situation where the miners are like making so much in fees that they don't want to put Segwit in because, well, it takes away the fees. Now, if the price was at $200, Segwit would be no brainer because they're not making any money in fees anyway. So we're in a very weird situation where the Bitcoin, higher the price goes, the more it's favoring the status quo. So at some point, the price has to adjust. And so I think that's happening right now.
Okay, but so when do you, in what I read recently is that you think the market is not gonna, the price will continue to drop until the uncertainty is gone, correct?
I think the market will continue to drop until we know what's going to happen in the next month or two with Bitcoin Unlimited going live. So there's no way, we don't have any forward momentum to break through the 1300 barrier, which really is a barrier right now. And in some cases, I think a lot of investors, new money is being spooked, so they're not coming in. And personally, by the way, I have a lot of friends in the Bitcoin space. Everyone has been selling in the past day or two. The smart money got out of the 1200 plus. The money that learns from the smart money got out at 1100, and now everyone else is trying to get out at 1000 plus. I cannot see how Bitcoin holds 1000 over the next couple of days.
You had a post today that I thought was very interesting about a proposal that involved everyone signaling for Segwit, and then if it goes to $1,500, then then everyone does Segwit. Elaborate on that, because I thought it was like doubling down. Like, you're so sure that Segwit is the solution that you're sure it's going to go to $1,500 if Segwit gets approved. So elaborate on what you exactly said. I don't want to butcher your words.
It's not as simple as that. And the problem with Twitter, I only have 140 characters. I will be very careful of how I craft my tweets. And I've thrown out a couple of solutions. The point is there are a number of solutions too. There's a market-driven solution where the market forces the price down and we get Segwit. Segwit is not the best solution. I'll be the first to admit this, but right now it's the only option we have. And there's lots of reasons why Segwit is important for us. We're stuck in a very difficult situation right now where mining is highly concentrated in a couple of pools, all controlled by effectively the same miners. Mining equipment is manufactured by 2 companies. So we've got centralization of mining, and it's centralized in China largely. So Bitcoin, it was really built to be fully decentralized. I mean, it's a sad thing that I can't mine stuff on my computers at home. I can't rent space. Like, it's really the masses of the world are locked out. They cannot mine Bitcoin, which is kind of sad, right? No one can mine Bitcoin because it has to be done using ASICs, so it's totally centralized, which is a problem, which is a huge problem. And so therefore, I think we need to think about some other options. So, for example, if we wanted to solve that problem, we could say, fine, let's move to proof of work GPU or CPU based mining, and let's give everyone a 32 megabyte block. Who gives a shit, right? The problem with increasing the block size right now is because it uses ASICs, it gives an edge to the bigger mining pools. And that's a problem because now you're going to centralize mining even more so. And that's really the cause argument. It's actually a good argument because so like my counter argument would be, well, fine, if people want bigger blocks, then we should move away from ASIC mining. So choose. You can't have both.
Wow. Well, guys, since Vinny joined us, do you guys have any questions for Vinny? Anybody on the panel, the three of you? Anything to say about any of the comments that he said?
I
Vortex.
got one.
Okay, yes, Ansel.
Hi, Vinny. Nice to speak with you.
Ansel, nice to meet you.
I have a question for you about the whales in the altcoins, because we know that a lot of the altcoins are very centralized, and if they see like maybe Bitcoin consolidating, will they dump on these small guys that get in and buy a couple $100 worth of Dash or something? I think that's a bigger threat in these exponential moves that we're seeing in Dash and Ethereum.
So the thing about Dash in particular is there's a market maker out there pushing the price up. So we know who they are. We have some guesses, but there's a market maker out there pushing the price up, because I've been looking at the trading charts and it's very clear it's being somewhat manipulated. We'll see how that plays out. I have my suspicions, but I can't prove it. It isn't perfect information, but Dash's trading patterns do not reflect regular trading patterns, in my opinion.
Okay. Vortex, do you have a question for Vinny?
So, Vinny, why can't you come on my show, man? No, I'm just kidding. No.
Timing, man, timing.
I know. No, this has actually been really informative, and I really appreciate your opinion, Vinny, on these altcoins. And there's really, it's hard to disagree. I mean, everything you've said completely made sense to me, and this is what we're seeing in the markets. We're seeing the money go from Bitcoin to the alts, and then back to the alts, from the alts to Bitcoin. And when Bitcoin rises again, it will. These alts will lose their money. Now, I guess the only thing I would like to push back on is I don't think that Bitcoin will be at 900 for long, right? Because if it does go down to 900, it should bounce around 900. So I just my question for you would
bounce or crash to the floor.
Bounce. So let me ask you, Vinny. Here's my question. Like, my question would be, how long do you think Bitcoin will be under 1,000 roughly? I mean, obviously we can't know for sure, but I mean, what is your guess? How long do you think it'll be under 1,000?
I don't think we're going to see any upward momentum until the scaling debate is resolved. And I think I can't say too much, because there are some things I'm aware of that's playing out, which is not market knowledge right now. But you're going to see in the next couple of hours or days more information coming out, which I haven't been able to vet or confirm this information, but if some of the stuff is true, it's kind of scary. But that stuff hits the media and the press. Look, this is not about FUDing right now. I mean, this is about information coming out there, and then it's up to the community to verify the veracity of the information and confirm it or not. But there's some seriously. Look, let's just be frank, guys. If you look at this market, we've got a bunch of super smart individuals in the cryptocurrency space. This is not your average Joe. This is not people in the 1%. This is people in the 0.1% of intelligence in the world, right? And the shit is not adding up. Stuff doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but things are not adding up. And so, what's going on?
You're leaving us with a little bit of fun here, man. This is a
no. I mean, I believe in Bitcoin. I believe in free markets, and I believe Bitcoin is going to be successful. The problem is there's a lot of tangential issues that are coming up. I mean, we're in an altcoin bubble. Bitcoin price is coming down. We've got a hard fork pending. We've got people who believe a hard fork's going to happen, people that don't believe a hard fork's going to happen. You've got people on different ends of the spectrum. Like, for example, if Segwit is adopted, Bitcoin Unlimited's code base is worthless, right? So if Core said tomorrow, we'll do Segwit plus a 2 meg hard upgrade, how do we know that BU is going to be going for it? Because now all their work's thrown out the door. So Segwit is being, you just think about it this way, like, you've got a team of people who've been working on BU for 2 years plus, probably, or 2 years, call it that. If Core gave let's say Core said the miners will give you a Segwit and 2 megabyte upgrade right now, I guarantee you there'd be strong resistance to do it, because you basically have to, because the current branch that BU is written on was an old branch of Core, and Segwit would override all that. So basically all that coding's gone. Now, if we want 2 megabyte upgrade and it could avoid a hard fork, I'd be all in favor of saying, okay, let's do it, right? if we can get consensus and get 75, 85, 90% people to agree with that, fine. Are the BU guys willing to just throw away the code base and move forward nicely on it? I'm not sure that would happen.
Well, I mean, but what's it matter what they think, though, in the end of the day?
Well, so you got mining pools, 40% of mining, it was nodes, I think nodes at 40% signaling for BU, right?
That's what the rumor is, but I've heard that it's fake. We were discussing this earlier.
I don't know. This is my point. Like, there's so many unknowns right now, and nothing's adding up.
Wow, we're getting pretty we're getting deep here. We're getting way too
real
deep.
quick. It is interesting, you know, that to point out that the nodes can be really easily gamed. You know, Jimmy Song put out an article about this recently that can be gamed, and so it's hard to really know where we're at. Like Vinny said, it is uncertainty. There is the market. So one thing, right, which was the big huge FTC ETF. Sorry, ETF. We got over the ETF. Now we're going to have to get over this next uncertainty, and then there'll be another one after that. But the point is that people are continuing to work on Bitcoin. More people are continuing to get into it, to develop, and you know, more users are getting into it. So I just don't see us going under 1,000 for very long. Even if there was a fork even if the fork was imminent, like 100%, I still don't see us because then there'd be more certainty in the market. Then we would know.
I disagree. Imminent fork, in my mind, would mean the price is going to just totally tank. Because think about it, guys. Like I laid this out in my blog post, and I know for a fact that you've got basically two groups of people with very strong opinions, right? So on the one side, you're going to have the long-term Bitcoin hodlers. Okay, and when BTU goes live, they're going to sell the shit out of the extra coins they have, and they're going to hold and both sides are going to do that. So, and I've spoken to people on both sides, and they're like, "Yep, I'm doing exactly that." So now you're doubling effectively the supply in the market, right? And on both sides, you're increasing free float of coins because people on either side want to sell their coins. This is going to be insane. It's going to be extremely volatile, seesaw effect. And the markets will take a while to settle down. And because new money gets sort of stopped from coming in, because people who are trying to get into Bitcoin, it's just going to be, guys, every scenario I've played out is bad. A hard fork must be avoided at all costs.
Oh, I agree. A hard fork must be avoided at all costs. But if Roger wants to create his own altcoin, he's going to create his own altcoin. I don't have the exact worry that you have, that if he creates this little altcoin, I think you think all these people want to deal with this new Roger Ver altcoin. I don't see that demand out there. I see this kind of being laughed at by a lot of people and just almost ignored to a point. Like, they're going to all sell their true Bitcoin when the Roger coin is created. I don't see that. I see us all selling our Roger coins.
Roger coin people would, Adam. So if you're a Roger coin person, you're going to sell Bitcoin because Bitcoin will be Let's say
how many of them?
Sorry.
We're talking over each other, so I'll let you go. You say what you got to say.
Sorry. Let's say hypothetically we do a 25-75 split. Let's just assume that BU gets to 75%, and now we have 25. And let's assume it's kind of a friendly split, right? There's no replay attacks. Everyone tries to make sure it's all nice and copacetic, and we can go our own way, and there's two different coins. Now, the people on the one side, so the current Bitcoin community is probably split, I wouldn't say equally 75-25, but let's say it's a 50-50 split. The people who want to hold the minority chain are going to sell the BU coins. And the people who want to hold the BU coins, the Roger coins, are going to sell their BTC. This is the point. And it's going to increase a massive amount. Some people will hold both, but I'd say this. And listen, if people know that this is going to happen on both sides, they're going to sell them with the hopes of buying them back later cheaper.
Well, I just don't think there's that many Bitcoin Unlimited or Roger Coin fans out there. I think you overestimate their numbers. I do. But I mean, it's good. It's good to be cautious, and I've admired you for being very cautious about this. I believe strongly if we just get the word out there that this is some crap coin that's about to be created, that people will realize that's exactly what it is, and we can just. What the greatest point you brought up.
Why do you say it's a crap coin? Hold on. Why do you say it's a crap coin?
Because it just is. Why wouldn't it be? If they're he's creating an altcoin out of the blue. with some miners support, maybe. I mean, he owns Bitcoin, and he owns Bitcoin.com. That's his big wild card in this, that he owns Bitcoin.com. And if he didn't own Bitcoin.com, we wouldn't have to worry about this at all.
I've got a question. Vinny, so I'm curious, let's say that a super contentious fork happens. Do you see that as like an end game for Bitcoin, or do you just see that as we're going to have X amount of time where things are just awful and the market sucks and eventually it recovers? Like what do you see, like, in the event of a super contentious hard fork? How long do you think it would be playing out before people either, you know, or do you think that they'll come back in eventually down the road, like a year or 2 years down the road, and we recover? Or do you see something else taking over in that instance? What is your expectation in that kind of a situation?
I see Ether winning. You know, I really do think Ether will take off if there's a super contentious hard fork. Contentious, I'm saying it's a point where you have these two parts of Bitcoin fighting with each other. People don't know which is the real Bitcoin. And so people trying to get in and say, well, I'll just buy Ether because it keeps going up. Now, it may crash and go through the same boom bubble cycle as Bitcoin, but this is the problem. There can't be two Bitcoins. The whole promise of Bitcoin is only 21 million coins. It's a store of value. And when we have 42 million coins, and Adam, all due respect, they're like, I know it's a crap coin, but try explaining that to the man in the street. They don't get it.
Do you see a parallel between this and the Ether split? Like, do you not think it wouldn't? No?
Totally different. The Ether split was a technical split, right? And on something that wasn't broadly adopted by the masses. People aren't buying gift cards and everything else using Ether, right? It's not a transactional currency for them. The Bitcoin, I've been to countries on the world, so you guys, the signs on storefronts, people are buying coins, they're spending it, they go and travel through Europe with Bitcoins. So like people buy it as a store of value. And by the way, I'm not saying that Ether would win forever, but in the short term, that's where it would go. And then the two Bitcoins would war it out, and one would win. And you know, and who knows which one? It's not clear that there would be core versus BU. It's not clear. I can't see which one would.
But one would win though, and people would hold their coins throughout the craziness, just like they have for these past years.
Do you? Guys with like large. Think about it. Okay, you guys are looking at it from a different perspective here. I know people with millions of dollars in coins, and I know that, and they're dumping them right now because it's just too much money for them to hold for the risk. So yeah, you've got 20, 30 grand of the coins, 50 grand, 100. Yeah, fine, small amounts. But the big holders are saying, and I know this for a fact because I have friends who are selling and literally have sold millions of dollars in coins the past 2 days. They're not willing to take the risk.
They must have weak hands, Vinny. They got to have weak hands.
But it's not about that. They were willing to hold it as long as it's a unified coin, right? But the moment so Bitcoin in theory is on a really good track right now as a single coin. The moment you split it, you people who are just barely, people who are not quite at the same technical level as the people in this conversation, they don't have the time to monitor Bitcoin and see whether it's going up and put trade orders in. And they don't do all that stuff. They buy the coins, they put it offline, they forget about it. But the moment they realize this is happening, they're like, you know what, I'll just come back in later on. I'm not looking for the risk of losing $1 million.
Do you think that has to do with the point in its evolution that the split happened in Ethereum? Like it's early on enough that they split and so there's the main Ethereum chain. Is that the reason? So, but then would Ethereum not be equally susceptible to the same thing down the road? And would this just be a play out that happens over and over again in the crypto space?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I think Bitcoin is a different beast. I think trying to draw parallels between Bitcoin and Ethereum in terms of the split. Catherine from Tezos made some good points. I found a link to her post about this. I don't think we can draw parallels. And by the way, we have a sample size of 1 for a contentious fork, right? It's the variance of this is ridiculously high. So I don't think we can even look at it for now. If we had 10 contentious hard forks and we can say they've all gone well, then I'd say fine, let's look at the numbers. Right now we have a sample base of 1 to work with. It's not even worth this comparison.
All right, like Tone, you've got a question, some questions, and Ansel. Tone Vays is joining us. He's going to be on the show next week too. You never know what's going to happen on the show. Tone and then Ansel.
Hey guys, hey Vinny. No, this is totally random. I already put away my tripod. I already Well, I like turned everything down, and Adam texted me the link to jump in. Hey, Vinny, I got a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
Surprised that big players, but I'll get back to that in a minute. I have this question for you because a bunch of people are like emailing me or contacting me with the following question: Tone, how do I buy Dash? If that's happening to you, because I replied to them saying, well, Dash is a scam. Here's a video from my Crypto Scam podcast. And the fact that you're asking me about it, nothing about crypto, and why the hell are you getting into Dash? If you are being contacted by like newbies, buy things other than Bitcoin.
So do you know how remarketing works? So they cookie the computers of all these really so what happens is you basically run ads or you target content or search keywords, people searching for Bitcoin. You target ads and videos at them. We don't see this necessarily. We may see it sometimes, but people outside Silicon Valley, people outside certain areas, and they get them excited about.
No, I'm sorry. No, Vinny. No, I'm talking about people that you would know, like not like a complete random stranger,
okay.
but someone that might have gotten your business card, someone that like knows a little, like not a complete stranger, but like 6 degrees of separation from you, but you would actually know who that person is.
I haven't had people come to me about Dash specifically. So I hope that answers the question. I mean,
okay. So back to,
yeah.
Look, so I'm sorry. So back to the other question. Like even like 3 or 4 days ago, people like hitting me up and asking me, "Hey, Tone, how do I get into Bitcoin? I want to do it OTC for like $250,000. Like, how do I go about doing that?" And I connect them with some OTC sellers that I know that are fully legit and things like that. But I'm actually surprised that like big players that you know are exiting Bitcoin. When did these big players get in? Makes no sense. I'm sorry, Vinny. That makes no sense to me at all. I find that very difficult to believe.
So one, there's a couple of things you can do, and I haven't had the time to do this. One, we should have someone do an analysis of large wallets and see wallets that have been dormant for more than 12 months and see, we say large wallets, 500 coins plus or 250 coins plus, and see how much movement there's been in the past couple of days in these wallets. This is not anecdotal. This is fact. I know a number of people that I know probably about $2 or $3 million has been moved over, call it 2 or 3 guys in the past 2 days, and it's only it's been the past 2 days, so it hasn't been. It's been since I think since Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday.
And
but when did they get in?
And did they go back to cash? Is the other question.
Back to cash, yeah. Back to cash.
When did they get in, and did they go back to cash?
They went back to cash.
Wait, now, how close are these people to you? Because if they're listening to you, like I'm still telling everyone either not to get in at all, and I'm actually advising people. I don't advise people to get into Bitcoin anymore unless they need it. So anyone that's listening to me, I tell them, well, I'm holding through it, so I recommend you hold through it as well. So are you potentially influencing these people to get out because you are more scared than I am of this hard fork? And I've been very critical of the hard fork, but you are a little more scared of it than I am, which makes me feel a little better about it, honestly. Is it possible that you are influencing these people to get out?
I'd say in one of the 3 cases, possibly. The other 2, no. Because in the one case, I didn't have contact with the person before. They just got hold of me afterwards and said,
And how long have these people been in Bitcoin, or your best guess?
The one guy, I think he's been in for like 6 months. The other one about 3 years or 4 years.
Okay, well, the 6-month guy doesn't worry me at all. The 3 years guy worries me a little bit. But also 3 years, if he got in near the top at like 800 or 900, he's finally profitable. And he's the kind of person that will say, "Oh, screw this! I don't want another 1.5 years of aggravation, especially if I have a wife."
Yeah. I mean, I can't answer that. I don't know. Don't know how his personal finances.
Okay, so basically, what would worry me is someone that has been in pre-2013 getting out. So when I hear big players that were in pre the 2013 ramp, so those that got in 2012, if you hear of those people getting nervous and getting out, that's what would make me a little bit nervous. And the only other thing that would make me nervous is my top 10 all-star core developers jumping ship to non-Bitcoin jobs or an altcoin, most likely non-Bitcoin jobs.
Yeah, like I said, this is not a very difficult calculation to go do. Like, we can go get an analysis on the chain in the past 48 hours and see how many coins have been dormant in certain wallets, certain sizes have been moved in the past couple of days, and see what's going on.
That would actually be a good analysis. Just I would love any. Yeah, I would love to see it too. So if anyone's watching this, I'm gonna hit up what's his name? I know he doesn't want to be public, but Jaap over in Amsterdam from a block trail. He's the kind of guy that would be able to do this.
All right, Ansel, you had a question, I think, for Vinny. Did you?
Oh, I just want to say that Vinny, you came in here and you're saying, I know this insider information, but I can't say what it is. And
well, no, I wouldn't say inside information. It's not my information to divulge. That's all.
Okay, and also, if these, I believe that some whales are paring back. I believe that because I know one personally that has recently told me that he's paring back a little bit of his Bitcoin holdings as well. But I mean, they're not going to jump ship to Ethereum. They have their own contentious hard fork coming up, and there's no place for them to really go. Plus, they obviously aren't developers, because with this bug that came up in Bitcoin Unlimited, I mean, they have to know that it's not even viable. I don't even believe there's going to be a hard fork because the code isn't even viable in the first place. No miner in their right mind is going to go mine with Bitcoin Unlimited versus Core if there's a contentious fork in the, I would say, the next year even. So there's a long way to go on this.
Like, give me a percentage for contentious.
Contentious, well, anything under 51% is ridiculous. I would say anything over 50% to 80% would be contentious, and then you're getting into reality when you're talking over 80%.
Yeah, I think there's a very strong likelihood that there will be an attempt to do a contentious hard fork on Bitcoin.
All right, Blake Anderson has joined us. He's going to be on some future shows also. We're getting all sorts of people. Did you have a question for Vinny, actually? You were saying some stuff in the chat.
And by the way, this shouldn't be the Vinny show. This is the Adam show. I just came on last time.
No. You're the people want to, you missed the first part, and then people had questions in the chat. So this is very interesting stuff.
It becomes the Vinny show.
This is awesome. Blake, what's your question here?
Well, I just want to say, Vinny, I appreciate your work. You've made products that I use on a regular basis, which is a very rare thing to be able to say to somebody that you're talking to. So, thank you for that. I was just wondering about you said that there were certain reasons that you didn't think that the price was going to be able to go up a ton until the fork issues were resolved. And I can understand feeling that way, but I just want to know how you feel about people that say, well, there are some people, possibly giant whale holders, that maybe have exposure to a lot of forms of influencing opinion, that perhaps at this point, especially after seeing the technological untenability of maybe some nodes being shut down and maybe some other problems in Unlimited, what do you think now is the risk of there's just some people that are wanting to fork to double their supply of Bitcoin and maybe costs be damned in the long term? And how do you see, what situations do you see playing towards that coming through more and more in terms of what more would be you have to do in terms of violating the trust of the in production development community for us to start to think of, maybe this is just people being greedy more so than actual technological progress?
Look, it's very, very difficult to answer that question without delving into some of the personalities that are involved in the space, which I don't want to do at this point. I think that this is a very super hot charged topic. I think the emotions are high. There is a lot of rationality, there's a lot of irrationality, and the difference between the two is how much you know about the situation. And so that, for me, is is one of the reasons we're in the situation we're in today, is because I was having actually a good conversation last night at dinner with a lot of people around crypto dinner, and the one thing I made a point which I think resonates with everyone, so I'll make it here as well, is knowledge asymmetry in crypto is extremely high relative to any other industry I've ever seen.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
so that's a massive problem when you come to something which is supposed to be decentralized and open source. If you think about it, and I think Jameson Locke wrote a good post about no one knows about Bitcoin a couple of days ago, and no one understands it, and that kind of plays into it. But the reality is, given this, the irony is for something that's so open source, collaborative, etc. It's like it's plain to see for everyone. The information asymmetry is ridiculously high.
Oh, and especially, I mean, what's the risk? What is the risk of information asymmetry? It's the Dunning-Kruger effect coming to its most visceral instantiation on both ends. It's the people that don't know a lot screaming really loud and saying, I'm going to punch somebody out. And then it's people that are really, really intelligent on the subject saying, I'm not going to say anything because I falsely assume that everybody else is already aware of the things that I'm aware of. Then you have those two groups interacting, and it can create a lot of damage. What I'm worried about is a lot of people succumbing to appeal to moderation, maybe saying, let's have everybody heard out instead of really being brave and weighing in on what they think are the instantiation factors that are better. But at the same time, I don't want to try to push anybody too far in terms of saying, well, you're pushing me farther than I'm comfortable in terms of weighing in. So I'm trying to find that balance. I really want people to weigh in to the max of their comfortable ability, but not too far.
Well, that and cognitive dissonance is the other problem as well. So you add what you're saying up, and so people don't. Not just that you don't want to say, is that people don't want to hear what you have to say because it differs with what their worldview is. And so I try and tread a very thin line here because it's actually a very difficult balancing act because I go too much on the one side and I get a ton of criticism, and I just have to basically pull back and say I'm just gonna keep quiet and let you guys watch how this shit plays out. And I mean you guys, I mean like the people who are throwing insults at me. And then on the other hand, sometimes I just have to push the issue because I'm getting emotional about it to an extent where I think this is dangerous, it's not good. And so I try and be balanced about it. So my tweets, I would definitely say my tweets are more on the emotive side, but my blog posts are more on it takes me time, I think through it, I have people reread it for me, I edit it properly, and I get the thoughts out that way. It's really hard to play the game where you're trying to educate the entire market because, again, the information asymmetry is high. So I don't know how to answer your question other than that.
No, I think you did a very good answer.
Can I just jump in here real quick?
Tone.
Because Vinny, you talked about the price. Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Yes, okay. Tone, ask your question. Ask it.
Question. I'm just gonna talk about the price for a minute. I actually disagree with you, Vinny, on the price. My low for the Bitcoin price is 915. I consider 915 a very, very strong buy. I honestly don't see Bitcoin dropping below 900. And it goes to what Adam said earlier in the show, where if Bitcoin goes to like 800 or 700, he'll find a way to get $7,000, $10,000, which for us is a decent chunk of money. I always I was much newer to Bitcoin, and I think I was way too, I got scared during Bitcoin XT, and I got scared during Bitcoin Classic. I know Roger Ver is much bigger. I'm not scared this time. If Bitcoin goes down, I am buying. I was joking at the last time we crashed from 1150 to 760. I famously said, I'm expecting it to fall from 1150 to 760. And if it does, I'm going to like sell my assets and buy Bitcoin at 760. And people called me out on it when it fell to exactly 760 in reverse. People are like, Tone, did you sell your assets and buy it? And my answer was, no, I didn't. That was more of a, because I quick, and I'm not actually going to sell my condo on a 4-day notice to buy Bitcoin, because that's pretty much one of the few assets that I have to sell and buy, nor am I going to sell my car to buy Bitcoin. But if it starts to fall again, I am not backing down from this. Now, it's possible that I'm wrong. It's possible that me and Adam and some of the other people, we're now in full Dunning-Kruger thinking that Bitcoin will be the honey badger and survive, and we're wrong. but I am not expecting Bitcoin to fall back to 500 or 100 or 600. We are not lucky enough for that. The market will prove the majority of the people wrong, and my low 100 to the 915 area, I think Bitcoin will defend it. I think there is enough strong people that would buy all of Roger Ver's Bitcoins at that price. I don't think we're lucky enough to see another $500 Bitcoin unless this really is a failed experiment.
So let me ask you this question. Does that assessment withstand a hard fork?
Yes.
So you're saying the BTC pair, the BTC coin will not drop below 915 even after a hard fork?
If the wallets and the exchanges do their job, no.
Okay.
Because it's hard forking to a crap coin, to a crap coin.
Vinny, I'm halfway there. The exchanges, it looks like the exchanges are on board to do their job. The wallets doing their job is trickier for two reasons. One, the biggest wallet is blockchain.info, and while they are Segwit ready, is what I believe was their biggest funder, right? So that's a wild card. The biggest wallet is generally a Roger Ver supporter as a person. The other problem with the wallets is the small wallets. Like my favorite wallet is Airbits. They only have like 3 or 4 developers. They may not have the ability to handle a hard fork because they just don't have the money nor the programmers to deal with it. So the wallets is a minor wild card. If the exchanges and the wallets do the right thing for the future of Bitcoin, I believe that even in a hard fork, that the 915 value will be supported.
It's on record, guys. We can play this back after Dross to the
Oh yeah, no. I make bold calls all the time. I am wrong. I famously said $1 for Ethereum is a high. I mean, I've been wrong before.
I'm curious, how many people here would sit on both coins just in case, and how many people would sell the shit out of everything, like out of like BU? How many people would?
I'll answer that. I will sit on my Bitcoin Unlimited BTU coins, laziness and being too busy to do anything with them. So I will probably sit on them for a while. I sat on Dash for a while. I mean, I kind of liked Dash in the beginning, and even after I knew Dash was a scam and I called it a scam, I was still sitting on Dash, not because I wanted to sit on Dash, only because I'm freaking busy.
I'm not lazy. I would consolidate mine instantly. And this isn't like where we have the Ethereum problem of this has been done to achieve some kind of a change. This is done to split off of production and to have other features. So I would consolidate back to the original chain almost immediately. And when people look at Ethereum for what to do, I think that they need to be aware of the fact that there was other things going on in terms of the Ethereum split, not just a technical split.
Well, unless there's some sort of
that's
replay
interesting
effect,
because
right?
Right, and this is really interesting because Blake and I are 100% aligned on the Bitcoin thing, but we will do the complete opposite things with our BTU tokens. And this is just additional proof that this hard fork is not going to happen because it's just so much uncertainty. No one is going to know what to do, and the BTU token will literally die. It's not going to be like Ethereum. There is no moral ground for this altcoin.
I want to say something real quick here to answer your question. If they actually create this RogerCoin thing and I get my free RogerCoin, I remember what happened with the Ethereum Classic when that was formed. There was this huge run up in price, all these people playing around with it, and then the gradual drop off. Man, so I would sell 80% of my RogerCoin like when I see it ramping up like that, just to get quite a bit of, I mean, if it's like at $200, $300, I mean, that's you sell 80% of your holdings, you're making some good money there all of a sudden. So
it'll never be that high.
A lot of people, I mean, and I don't think it would even be if it was over $100. Over $100, it's like insane. Everybody would sell if it was over $100. Holy, all of a sudden you have a free $100. I mean, I would definitely jump on that in a second because it's just bonus, and that would destroy it. I think because I don't see people respecting it at all.
Well, you sell if there was a replay attack. What if there was no replay protection? So yeah, I would want to sell as soon as possible, but there's going to be a replay attack on all. If you send coins to your BTUs to the exchange, all of your coins are going to the exchange. So, and Core, like Vortex said at the beginning, Core said they're not going to add anything in that regard. So who knows what's going to happen? People probably aren't going to be able to sell right away.
So the one thing I will say on this point is that, let me put it to you guys so I am so against the hard fork right now that I'm doing everything in my power through my network contacts to figure out how to avoid this. If a hard fork is avoided, it's because of myself and a whole bunch of other people who are all trying in the background to prevent the hard fork from happening. So if it does happen, we've all failed. Because the goal is not for it not to happen and for us not to be having this conversation at all around what are we going to do with our fork coins, because that is the worst outcome for Bitcoin. If we're in that situation, I personally may even be at the point where I'm like, I'm just done with crypto. I'm out, because I really feel that strongly about it. And
I'm with you. So I'm with you. I've already said that same thing.
Continue, Vinny. Continue.
Okay. No. So that's my view. So I won't be around to discuss this because I'll be like literally done. So we're going to prevent the hard fork. But let me tell you something like with no uncertain terms. We are heading for a hard fork right now. If people who are involved in trying to prevent it stop, we are having it. Make no mistake.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think that we're not just now, we're on a fence as far as technology goes as an entire species, and us weighing in on how our different technological things are instantiated is hugely important right now. It's basically what our generation is going to contribute to history. So I agree with that.
I agree with that too. I would say to an earlier point that we were talking about at the beginning of the show, it's all about the approach, and this is not a tech problem. This is a people problem. And I know Vortex and Ansel, you were saying that the poking and prodding is necessary, but like our main goal should be to get people on the opposite side of the fence to listen to and hear our point of view. And we should also be listening to them about why they think the way they do, because our goal is to get more people to see our point of view. But in order to do that, you need to also listen to them and figure out why they think the way they do. I know that there are some toxic people out there that are spouting things that are untrue, but I think that in order to change minds, you also need to listen to people and figure out why they think the way they do.
Well, let me push back on that a little bit, because unfortunately for that, there's a lot of people who lie. I mean, even Roger himself has spouted just several actual blatant lies, and so it's hard to keep the, yeah, exactly, while he's astroturfing. So it's like it's hard to do that, because at this point we're actually past that. The evidence is out there, the code is out there. People now understand. Okay, we've had at least a couple bugs from Bitcoin Unlimited, and we're gonna have more. People understand that Segwit took over a year. People understand out there now that the two different approaches, right? A cautious approach that's got us where we are, and then Roger's approach. So we're past the talking and listening to each other. Now it's at the point where we, unfortunately for Vinny's, close your ears, Vinny. But unfortunately, we're at the point now, at this point, where there's going to be a fork. Somebody's going to fork it off if they get the hash power, which I agree with Ansel. I don't think they'll ever get the hash power anyway. I just think that Segwit will activate and we'll move on.
And what software? What software are they going to run? They're going to run the buggy BU software that, Maxwell has said there's bigger bugs that he knows of than what crashed 75% of their nodes.
At least 2 or 3 more bugs. At least, yeah.
Well, guys, I don't know how many of you guys play chess. I've been playing chess my whole life. The one lesson I've learned as a chess player: do not underestimate your opponent ever.
Guys, I can't believe I'm like the least panicky person in this group over this hard fork. I honestly find this so difficult to believe, considering like I rave and scream on my own podcast left and right.
I'm not.
So that's all I can say.
I'm not worried about it either. It's not going to happen.
I'm not worried about it. I wanted Vinny to clarify one thing, because there was something he said earlier that's going to get misquoted, and people might try to pump a certain coin up because of it. Vinny, you said Ethereum will win. Make sure that soundbite is.
No. So let me clarify that. Okay.
Yeah.
If there's a hard fork, the money trying to invest in the space, the new money coming in particularly, is going to go into Ethereum, at least in the short term, until a clear winner comes out of one of the two coins.
Yeah, especially because the SEC just said when the ETF got rejected that the Ethereum project with their known blue chip participants is better.
Hey, so again, this goes to kind of my other point: is why isn't Litecoin benefiting from any of this? And this is my biggest puzzle right now in all of crypto. I honestly think that there is a big player, and we can take a guess who this big player can be, because Litecoin is one of the few coins that can actually be shorted. There has to be a big player holding down Litecoin.
Well, that's situational though too.
And if Litecoin pumps, some big short player is gonna have to, get squeezed. I don't understand why Litecoin isn't going up at all.
I just feel bad for jumping in on Vinny when he was explaining what he meant about Ethereum. If you could jump back.
No, I just sorry.
Vinny just said that Litecoin is the best beneficiary of a Bitcoin implosion. Position to take the value. Sorry, Ethereum. Ethereum is in the best position to.
Well, guys, don't mangle this.
I think
let's confuse this a little bit more.
Yeah, Litecoin up 30% on Vinny comments. Dope.
Okay, Vinny, just clarify it one more time. If you said Ethereum, not Litecoin.
Just to clarify one last time, if there's a hard fork for Bitcoin, a lot of money is going to point to Ethereum because there's one clear direction for Ether right now, versus two unknowns for Bitcoin, and it'll take us weeks, months, days, who knows how long, to figure out which coin is the one the market's going to support as the primary coin going forward for Bitcoin. So in the midst of confusion, just understand that either money trying to get into crypto will either spread it around or largely go into Ether, and that looks to be the case. And that's, by the way, if we notice, like if there's a hard fork, there is a very good likelihood, in my opinion, that Ether gets a higher market cap than Bitcoin, even if just for a while.
Oh, you're flooding. I mean, you're all right.
Is there a disclaimer about how much
I do not like Ether at all. I don't see the value in Ether at all. I cannot see how it's even at the current price it is right now, because it's just going to inflate forever. I don't get it.
Yeah, we can't jump down Vinny's throat because Snapchat. Look at how much Snapchat is worth right now.
The market is nuts, Adam.
Yeah,
that's what I should clarify. What Vinny is saying is that there's going to be just a massive speculation on Ethereum just because of a loss of confidence in Bitcoin. It's based on nothingness.
And they're blessed too.
Ethereum is high inflation and it's not a store of value. So I have no idea what's driving the fundamentals.
It's supposed to have an operational value connotation, which is research oriented, and it's not even scarce. It's not digital scarcity perfected. I mean, it's insane. But I totally agree with you that the markets could push it. I mean, look at Snapchat. Every time I look at the Snapchat stock, I die a little bit inside. So
I just say that Vinny is talking about a very doomsday scenario here. I don't see it progressing to that level, and you do. So we disagree on.
It's not doomsday, Adam. It's not doomsday. Just understand what I'm saying. If we confuse the market and we bifurcate the Bitcoin blockchain into two different chains with two different brands, where BTC.com and Bitcoin.com and blockchain.com are all controlled by the one side of the fence versus the other side of the fence, which is and let's be honest, that side of the fence is way better at marketing than this side of the fence and promoting Bitcoin. We are going to have a problem
for now.
And we're going to create confusion, and we're going to basically have a situation where people don't know which Bitcoin is the real Bitcoin. The industry may know, But then, even then, Eric Voorhees today came out and said on his tweet that Shapeshift would recognize the longest chain as BTC.
Yeah, I saw that. I think that's one of our biggest problems in Bitcoin. We don't talk the talk, we walk the walk, and that bites us sometimes.
No, Vinny, you're about to say something. You said you were.
No, I said within the industry, we can't agree on this. Imagine that, like, guys, I have my life in consumer marketing and consumer products and educating, working, and building. Like, I'm telling you right now, the confusion that we have in the consumer markets will have an impact on the Bitcoin price.
I agree with that totally. And you said that the other side is winning the marketing game, and I agree with that also. We have 7 people here talking right now. All of us have different audiences of different sizes, but we're all influencers, and we all do not support this. We're not fans of this RogerCoin split at all. None of us are fans of it at all. So we talk to a lot of people. We are doing the grassroots marketing now, and I have confidence that just us talking the talk about what this really means will prevent the worst from happening. I believe that strongly.
Hey, let me comment on Shapeshift real quick. Eric Voorhees' opinion of what which chain is Bitcoin is totally irrelevant, because he's not even an exchange. He's just going to convert one ticker to another. He will have absolutely no say as to what ticker is what. He's just going to use whatever ticker other exchanges are treating, because he doesn't actually like do anything with it. His opinion is totally irrelevant.
Tone, he's been in it for as long as Roger Ver, so he's obviously infallible. What are you talking about?
All right.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. When did Roger Ver get into it?
2011 at $1.
I'm kidding.
But that's the
time
thing.
ago.
Like, if you break it down, like Roger's arguments, Roger is like, well, I've been in it the longest, and all these other people came in later, and they know best. And then people went and did an analysis when they replied to my videos of the debates. We're like, well, wait a minute. Greg Maxwell's Bitcoin Talk account is older than Roger's. Peter Todd's Bitcoin Talk account is older than Roger's. Like so many of these core developers have actually been in Bitcoin longer than Roger Ver, and then Roger Ver tries to take this position that, well, these guys just showed up yesterday and they know what's best.
Well, it looks like chat saying this has
absolutely
become
crazy.
a circle jerk. Should I take the counter position? Should I play devil's advocate and argue for Bitcoin Unlimited against you guys?
No. Let's here. I want to. We're going to try to wrap this up right now, because this is supposed to be half the length.
Another 3 hours.
I want to get. We're approaching the. We got 15 minutes to go until we hit 2 hours. But
dude, this is what happens when you have Tone Vays on. Everything is 3 hours minimum.
It's been awesome. It's been a great surprise to have Blake and Tone and Vinny added to this. And they'll all be returning to the show. Tone is coming back next week, in fact. But I wanted to give everybody just one last opportunity to state their mind. So we're going to go Ansel, then Ben, then Blake, then Tone, then Vinny, then Vortex, just right across the screen like that. So Ansel, tell us any final thoughts here.
Okay. The core developers are pretty easily accessible, especially if you're a whale and you're holding $5 million, say, worth of Bitcoin. So if you know somebody that's wanting to sell, I would have them contact the core devs, at least to get an educated opinion before they go spreading FUD about some impending hard fork.
All right, Ben.
Yeah, I honestly think this is just like I said before, the ebbs and flows of people being scared of basically what just Bitcoin being Bitcoin. I understand that this is contentious, but for myself, in the event of a split or anything like that, I'm just holding all the way through. And that being said, I don't see anything wrong with people hedging a tiny bit or holding a little bit of something else. But for me, for the most part, the majority of it is going to stay in Bitcoin, and I'm sitting on it for years and years to come. So yeah, that's me.
I want to, before we get to Blake, remember everyone, this has been a very special video. So please like it, thumbs up it now. Blake.
Sorry about that. I was talking in a chat. all the way up to the last second here. I think that just what is important to just recognize is that we have a live material value transfer system in production. We don't want to play jazz with Bitcoin. And anytime you see anything that leads you to believe that you wouldn't be super comfortable leaving short investment horizon in something because of a tech issue, we don't want that. So let's try to take all emotion out of it. Let's try to identify any fallacy as such. Let's try not to appeal to violence or fallacy. Let's not appeal to moderation. Let's leave the feels at the door. Let's try to use computer scientists like adults and put amateur hour to bed where it belongs, because this space has lots of new people that come into it, but the OGs in the space need to be logical enough that we can bring people in ways that are tenable and logical and friendly. And it's definitely time that we do that. So let's approach it from that angle.
All right. Speaking of OGs, straight out of Brooklyn, Tone.
All right, so my view is, I know someone said that the core devs are accessible and to talk to them. I don't like bothering the core devs. I want them to spend more time focusing on code. So I kind of hope nobody just like randomly bothers the core devs with silly questions. Now, my view is, I think Bitcoin will pull through it. I think we will make out of this. I'm not as worried. I think this controversy, as bad as it looks, Bitcoin in a way needs it, because if putting your money in Bitcoin was easy, yes, everybody would have done it in 2010 and we would all be Roger Ver. Realistically, that is impossible. In a way, this only keeps the stronger hands in. Just like the stock market, it always climbs a wall of worry. And the more people are scared for a market crash, the higher the market goes. When everybody jumps in, market goes irrational and crashes. We are watching this happen with altcoins. Just be happy that Bitcoin is this low at this point in time. And I don't believe there'll be a hard fork. If there is, it's going to be like Clams. Clams was a hard fork of Bitcoin. Who here was nervous and scared about Clams? And this is exactly what Bitcoin Unlimited is going to be. Roger Ver is going to be treated like Mike Hearn and Gavin Andresen, just like you mentioned in the beginning of the show, Adam. In about 1.5 to 2 years, Roger will not have this kind of relevance. I am not as nervous about the situation, even though I can also display a little bit of doubt in some of my videos. I'm going to try and tone that down a bit. No pun intended.
All right, straight out of Durban, Vinny.
Durban.
Tell us what you think.
Cape Town, Palo Alto right now, actually. So I'll say two things. One is, I've been in Bitcoin for a long time, 5 years or so. And I have never once, and you look at my tweets, my history, I've never once been a FUD guy. I'm not a FUD guy. I am a very level-headed thinker. I'm telling you guys right now, all that you're doing is you're proving me right about information asymmetry. Okay? There's a lot that we do not know about this current situation. Everyone assumes that they know more about the situation than everyone else, right? All the information is transparent. Now, if I'm right, we will know very shortly. And if I'm wrong, well, then guess what? It was the difference between us knowledge-wise wasn't that high. But my assessment is that we are headed straight for a hard fork unless someone does something about it, and we need to. Basically, the problem we have in the industry, by the way, is this is an industry problem. We have an insensitivity. It's like insulin resistance, right? We're insensitive to FUD. We're so used to FUD all the time that this is just another FUD, right? And so that's my take on this is, until the facts play out, either I'm right or I'm wrong, the insensitivity that we've built up towards some type of FUD is probably going to make us a little less receptive to when there is a real danger. It's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. And what I'm saying is, there is a danger on the horizon, and because we've had FUD for years, we may not think it's real, but we should be very cautious right now.
Well, there's the dangerous hard fork, and then there's the clams hard fork. So I mean, we keep throwing around the word hard fork also. So I wish everyone out there would clarify a little bit more what they're. I mean, I know what you're preparing us for the worst type of hard fork, and I think it's good to be prepared, like Israel does with the 10th man. I think it's brilliant. But yeah, that's all. I'm not going to say any more than that. That we should be prepared for the worst. A lot of us don't think that the worst is going to happen. That it'll just be a clams type of hard fork. So we're going to have to wait.
There is one minor concern. This is a legit concern. Segwit will get in one way or another, right? Either these crazies try to fork Bitcoin, leaving the rest of us to put Segwit in, or we're at a stalemate and Segwit gets forced in by our core developers. So here's the tricky part that you have to keep in mind. If we're at a stalemate where Bitcoin is actually clogging up transactions, enough demand for Segwit, but not like 95% consensus, not across the nodes, not across the miners, maybe not even 90, maybe not even 85, maybe we'll have like 75 or 80%. There will be a magical day where the core developers are going to say, you know what? It's time. We know it's good for Bitcoin. We have to force Segwit. And they have to force it in very carefully. Because if they force it in too late, it could be a problem. We may not scale in time. And if they force it in too early, criticisms from guys like me and guys like Vinny and guys like you, Adam. So they have to very, very carefully put in if it comes to that, because it is good for Bitcoin. And just a miscalculation by a month could be the difference between Bitcoin's future success and Bitcoin's failure. So keep an eye out for that, and you have to support them that they picked the perfect day to do it.
All right, Vortex.
Can I just one last thing?
Okay. Vinny, then Vortex.
Sorry, the Bitcoin exchanges, obviously the emergency hard fork contingency plan that unveiled. I'm reading Andrew DeSantis' feed right now on Twitter. You guys should follow it. He's definitely going to be releasing information as this is a tweet storm he's got going out to us. DESANTIS. It's been going on.
Can I go ahead and second that? DeSantis is a force of nature right now. Go ahead and follow that guy.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. The one point he took a screenshot of is, the fact that the exchanges are saying it appears likely. This is exactly from the release. Since it appears likely we may see a hard fork initiated by BU, we decided to designate BU as BTU. So I think it's kind of strange that all 18 exchanges have gotten together to actually, if they didn't believe this was really happening, they've gone out and clarified it. So why would we assume that it's not going to happen unless they know something we don't know?
We're not assuming it's not going to happen. We think it's going to happen, but it's just going to be like a weak coin created for a little bit. I mean, they're calling it an
No, wait. They're in a different position. They have investors. They have users. They need to be prepared. This is what people were saying. Oh my God, Bloomberg has the coin ticker already prepared. That's an indication that the ETF is going to go through. And I told these people, I'm like, that's ridiculous. Bloomberg is a multi-billion-dollar organization. It's their job to be prepared, because if they're not prepared, they are not the leaders in the industry. So
it's just like when the election happened and they had both of them printed up. As soon as they had those, I went and got a tattoo that Hillary was the president, because I mean, why wouldn't you?
Right. So no, look, it's their job as responsible companies to be prepared. So that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that they think it's going to fork. That just means that they have the resources to prepare for it so that they're not caught by surprise. So even though the market might be reacting to it badly, like I said, it's like Bloomberg having COIN ticker, where you can go to Bloomberg website and you can open up the coin ticker. It has no data, but it was there. Bloomberg was ready because they didn't know in case the ETF gets approved. They're the leaders and they're ready. It's their job. So I wouldn't read too much into it.
All right, Vinny, then Vortex. Okay, that's.
No, I'm done. Vortex.
Okay, cool. Vortex, conclude the show, baby.
Oh my God, it's all up to me. No, seriously, guys, everybody tonight on the show like made amazing points. This has been a pretty great show. Awesome having Vinny here and Tone here and Blake here for we didn't even plan for those. So awesome, guys. Great points. Really, I guess there's just not much else I can say except for Vinny makes some good points and that it's clear that there's enough market people who want to fork. And I think that even if we but I'm still with Adam where if it does fork, they just won't have the majority. They just will not be able to get the majority technology and software based on code, based on the bugs that they have had and will continue to have in the Bitcoin Unlimited code. The market simply will not mine that technology. But that's about it for me. Just everybody just keep on if the price goes down, freaking buy the dip. BTFD, buy the freaking dip, people.
All right, well, we're going to conclude this show, try to keep it under 2 hours. It has been an amazing show with 3 special guests joining us who weren't even supposed to be here. And I was proactive, and I saw him out there. I'm a proactive kind of guy, I guess. You got to be proactive in life. But everyone out there, please like this video and share this video. Tweet this video out. This is going to be a video a lot of people are going to be talking about because, well, there was a lot of information on it, and there was some controversial stuff, and people can interpret things a lot of different ways from what they hear from this video. So spread the word out there. All the guys that were here, the 7 guys that are here, including myself, everyone's got to tweet this out, and we got to just, spread the word about what a hard fork would mean and the direction we want Bitcoin to stay in or to go in, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll be back next week. Tone will be back, and Lorien Gamaroff from South Africa will be on the show, and who knows who else will be on the show. And I have a show here every day, by the way, too, everyone. I post a new show every day. Not a panel show, but it's various shows. So I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. It is almost 3 a.m. in the morning here in Lisbon, Portugal. Thank you very much, everyone. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
Bye, guys.